So your name's Johanna, and you were at DAO for about 2 years, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess what was your experience like there, and can you also say like why you went there in the first place also?
We lived in Hawaii, my daughter, my son, and I, and we heard that they needed help, and we had a pretty good business in Hawaii, landscaping and gardening and helping other people. And they said there was this Christian community that everybody worked together, and it was a really nice, stable environment, a wonderful family camp, and they needed help. And that they would pick us up over at the airport in Pensacola, and they would give us free housing and free food, and we would just put in some work hours over there, and it sounded like a wonderful place, a good opportunity to be around people that were good for my family, and we got picked up at the airport and came there, and right away noticed that some people were overly friendly, and other people act like they I don't know, that I understand now, because there's only a certain amount that's told that they can live there, so everybody's always watching everybody else and reporting everybody else, and trying to be the chosen one that gets to stay there. There was two people that were really, really friendly to us when we first came there, and so we had the preferred treatment like everybody gets. Once you go through that, then hell starts.
So there's sort of a honeymoon period when you first get there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and they make jokes when they see new people come to camp, and they're smiling, and they got their nice clothes on and everything, and they're going on the tour and stuff. They're like, fresh meat, new spice. There's a joke that people say. It's not very nice, but because they know that pretty soon those people are going to find out what it's really like over there at Dinosaur Adventureland.
Right.
Once you get there and you're pressured to donate everything that you have because you're one of the chosen ones that's going to live there full time with this wonderful Christian community, and then you don't have any money anymore, then you're really treated like slime.
So you were pressured to donate most or all of your assets?
Yeah. Because after all, you were just told that, this is where you're going to stay probably for the rest of your life. You're going to be part of this wonderful place, building everything. And naked people would give their shirt off their backs to Dr. Hogan. He's a very charismatic person that convinces you of all these things that's needed over there, even though they're constantly tearing apart things that they got donations for and then rebuilding other things to get more donations when the stuff they had was fine in the first place.
Right. It seems like the construction there is endless.
Yes, it's endless, and we were concerned because there was a lot of really elderly people that were working, and it was 110 degrees, and they were volunteers over there, and they were working, out in the heat where they should have been in an air-conditioned building in the Science Center, greeting guests, or an easy job for elderly people. Because I know one of them, and they were worried he cracked his head, and he had been there a long time, and then got very ill, and I didn't see him, and so I don't know if he probably moved. Dr. Hoban says this is not a nursing home or anything.
Right.
I'm watching my granddaughter. Usually really quiet.
Yeah.
Around.
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So you mentioned the air conditioning. Now, I showed you the clip when Hovind was actually mentioned you on camera.
I didn't even look at that because he's such a liar.
Yeah.
We thought there was going to be, you treat your work, any normal place treats their workers right, but right away we were told we were soldiers, and he compared himself to David,
Mm-hmm.
He said he collected people, and he was building the kingdom, and it just started to close in and be very, very cultish, very, very fast. You couldn't, there was cameras, we were told there was cameras and listening devices everywhere. You were going to be watched and reported if you left the camp. You had to get permission even on what was called your days off, which you usually found something for you to do anyway on your days off.
Mm-hmm.
You had no free time because you got up at like 6 in the morning. You were supposed to go to his Bible study after a full day's work. And then by then, sometimes it was 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and you were really tired, and then you got to start the whole work day all over again the next day. And we were hauling 5-gallon buckets full of water to try to water all of the plants at Dinosaur Adventureland. And I said, I'm a distributor for off-grid products. Is there any Wi-Fi I could, get into over here so I can keep my business going? And, and I'd be happy to sell at cost without any profit to myself. All kinds of stuff to get you guys sustainable so you don't need to worry about only a few can stay here. He was not interested in that. I found out because you have to get people under that constant pressure of we're going to be maybe work hard enough and donate enough and do enough maybe, or report somebody else and get rid of them. We'll be one of the chosen ones. And it's like a group of sled dogs that are constantly working themselves really hard, and they put certain ones, in the lead, and the other ones will run and kind of nip them in the butt to keep them going, and that's the way he treated people.
Right. Well,
he didn't care. I did not see the compassion that a so-called pastor is supposed to have when there were people getting sick, when there was elderly that had fallen and hurt their heads when they were working.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't care. Anytime he saw any weakness, he despised any weakness, and you just had to, whether you felt good or not, you had to get your stuff together and just do it.
Right.
Whatever he said.
So the cabin you were in did not have air conditioning, is that true?
I was in a camper that he said someone was having stay there, and I thought it had air conditioning, but there was something wrong with the electrical system, so some of the lights didn't work, and it didn't have air conditioning. It got very hot in there. I was doing landscaping with my family, plus I was also cooking, and the very small kitchen area, very inappropriately vented, and every other worker that had worked there was allowed to have air conditioning in the kitchen area too. And as soon as I was in there, he said, no, I was not allowed to. And I said, well, it's 350 degrees. We're, running the ovens and stuff in here. Very small area. It's 100 and some degrees outside. I can hardly stand it. And plus all of the greasy stuff they constantly ate over there, greasy stuff and Kool-Aid. He would prefer his bacon burned. So in a small area with the greasy fumes and stuff, it had clogged up my lungs. I couldn't even hardly talk for a while. It was just, I could feel all that grease and that was improperly ventilated. Now they have a new kitchen they built, which is much better, but they didn't back then. And he had let everybody else use air conditioning in the kitchen but me.
Did that kitchen have air conditioning in it?
Yes, it did.
And
air conditioning unit.
He didn't run it when you were in there?
I was not allowed to run it. He would go check and make sure I was not running it. He would go outside of the cabins and stuff and check, see if the air conditioning was on. He said the air conditioning and the heat was just for the guests. The workers had to be good soldiers.
Wow.
But he himself, that compared himself to David, he had air conditioning. He had heat. It was nice and warm and cozy when we were called in to do massages for him. And I said, well, at least we can warm up a little bit or cool off a little bit if it was really hot outside.
Was that one of the reasons that you agreed to do those massages? Was just to get somewhere in air conditioning?
In therapeutic massages. I said, if there's a witness, like your wife or somebody there, he said it was going to be in this special massage room, like a rest room, signifying God's rest. And I said, I am trained in therapeutic massages. Those are the only kind I do. I don't do anything weird and kinky.
Mm-hmm.
I have helped people, car accident victims, twice before regain their mobility, be more comfortable. I said, I have never massaged a man before. I've worked with ladies, but he was supposed to be a pastor. I was told there was going to be witnesses. There was for a while, and then there was not. When I was massaging him, and his wife was, and another worker was, I was sent on my phone a listening device that there are in his house and cameras. I was sent a message on my phone of us massaging him, and it sounded like a harem fantasy. It was him making these comments, like, "Oh, it feels so good. Oh, little Lord." And when he was saying that, we thought, that's weird. We're not doing anything weird or kinky, His wife was cracking his toes, which he liked her to pull on his toes, so they cracked, which I never do.
Right.
I didn't think that would be good for your toes. I was just massaging his back and his shoulders, and another lady was massaging his legs. But the way that the sound was, the comments that he made, and that was sent to my phone, it made it sound like it was something a lot more than what it was.
Right.
There was nothing untoward going on. And then everybody started making comments that we were getting it on with him and everything. And we didn't come there to have our reputations destroyed.
Right.
But that made us wonder, when I got sent that, who's doing this? Who hates me so much that they would say this? So right away, you're wondering, who's against me? Who's this? Everybody is always encouraged, if something's wrong, you don't go talk to anybody else. You don't go try to work it out. That's very unchristian. You're constantly watching your back, wondering if you're going to at any time be accused of something or kicked out. Now you don't have any more money. You have no place to go. You're so exhausted and tired out.
Right.
And it's like 20 degrees in the winter. You have no heat. You're not allowed to have any heat, not even a space heater to plug in. We left for a while, my family and I, and then we were contacted and told we could buy the camper that we were in, that it had been fixed, and now it had air conditioning, and they would sell it to us for $500. So we rented a U-Haul and came over. We were almost all the way over, and then when we were about 10 miles away, we were told, no, you're not allowed to buy it, and all these reasons why. And I said, and we don't want you even near this place because you're a troublemaker and you're a whore. But I do know of a place for drug addicts and prostitutes like a flop house that you could go in, but your son can stay here in the man cave. So it's almost like a bait and switch thing. And I was horrified and shocked. I said, I'm not a prostitute. I'm not a drug addict. I'm glad there are programs for people like that. I'm not that. We've done missions for 20 years in Hawaii, helping people out and stuff, and I would never do that, and that's horrible. And so here we were. We had to return the U-Haul the next day. He knew we were in a desperate position. He finally heard this over there, and somebody else was given to buy the thing. He said, well, you can stay in one of the cabins, but your son has to stay in the man cave. I did not feel comfortable with that because several people had said that there were child molesters that were welcome to come and go at Dinosaur Adventureland, and I told my son, I don't like this situation. I try to get things going. Maybe we can borrow money from relatives or something to get out of here. This whole thing is a nightmare.
Right. So the last time we talked, you mentioned there was a mandatory meeting where people had to come, and it was Chris Jones. It wasn't Kent Hovind who was talking, but it was Chris Jones who was talking. Can you talk about that again?
Well, Kent Hovind was sitting in a chair, and he told everybody, this is my friend, Chris Jones. He is welcome anytime. He has a standing invitation. He has been accused of being a child molester. Anybody that does not like him being here can leave.
He said accused, not convicted?
He said that there had been court and all this other stuff. So, I don't know. He said he was accused. And he also made us go and listen to Chris talk about his supposed what he had done, which he smirked and talked about making young kids play strip poker like he thought it was a big joke and a lesson for them because one of them was supposedly bullying the other one or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he had done no wrong. And
right.
We were supposed to tell him we loved him and that even if he had done the child molestation, God is a God of love and God understands and people will sin. And he's a very strong advocate. Dr. Hovind is a once saved, always saved. Basically, do whatever you want. God can't give you the strength to not do it. You're gonna and you should sin. He said, I sin all the time. And so that was a big thing with me because I said, you know what, my God changes lives. And anybody that wants to quit drinking or drugs or whatever, they need to really try and get a support system going. And it's like whatever, as long as it didn't look bad to the community and get DAL in trouble, or be his personal problem. He didn't care what you did.
Right. Well, I know this is difficult for you to recount all this stuff, so why not?
No, it's fine. I will remember everything. Just ask me anything, and I'll be happy to answer you.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk about your experience with digging up, having to lay down something, and then having him tell you to dig everything up by hand, and then we'll sort of wrap up after that.
Okay. Well, he constantly did demoralizing things. Like he knew that I used to have a back injury that I had went for a lot of treatment, and by the grace of God, I wasn't in pain anymore, and my back was fine. He went and would have us do heavy lifting alone, lifting something. He had me lift, and my son lift a desk that a tractor needed to move, that several men needed to move. It was a big, giant office desk. He knew that would hurt me. He made me full length of room, feel like a living room rug, a big giant rug, was put in his mother-in-law's bedroom, and she had a hospital bed that was almost hooked onto the wall, so it couldn't really be lifted. It could barely be lifted, and then a big, giant, heavy dresser full of stuff. I was supposed to lift that with one hand and twist and put the rug perfectly down underneath. That's not possible. He told me to do that. Free up. He told me to undo, my son and I, to undo all of this. We were supposed to use cardboard, rotten cardboard or cardboard that had been thrown away instead of saved cleanly for us, like we asked. Dig in the garbage, the garbage dumpster that was full of hornets and rocks and whatever somebody wanted to throw in the garbage. And I said, well, I'm allergic to bees. I don't want to get stung. I got stung like 3 times. We treated it with a variety of different things. His wife helped me, and thank God I didn't go into anaphylactic shock or anything. But it was always scary. I knew I was risking my life just getting the cardboard. I didn't need to do that. And then once you got the cardboard, I was told to cover it with leaves as mulch or pine needles and, bury the cardboard, dig the cardboard down. So the rotten cardboard is attracting all these fire ants. So the cardboard might be from a pizza box or whatever. So after a while, the cardboard will break down, and it will kill the weeds and everything under it. But we were doing this in the where I had at Cox sold him an irrigation system that somebody else had punched up in their computer because we were not allowed to use Wi-Fi or finish our business or do anything. Their password was only for the people that were in the higher positions at DAL, not for us to use. So I had no income coming in from my business. I had to close it down. The grass would grow up in that area where they now had these hoses and things to water instead of us hauling buckets everywhere. We still had to haul them in a lot of places. And in order for the lines, the irrigation lines, not to be hit by the mowers, it had to be mulched all around so that it didn't need to mow that area anymore. So we worked and doing all this stuff pretty much, and very seldom allowed to use this little dune buggy-like Kubota thing. So my son and I were working super hard. My daughter used to help me, and then he had like an arranged marriage. He would advertise, he didn't advertise her, but he has advertised other women on YouTube saying, these are DAL women, and using them as bait to get guys. Just like he says there's a lot of good Christian men over here. Anybody interested in marrying a nice Christian man, come over here. So my daughter and I had went, to this wonderful community, hoping to find, a good husband, help work together. And it was the wonderful men were drug addicts, child molesters. They were a very abusive guys. Most of them had prison records. And he said, well, I choose these kind of people because David chose all these people the society didn't accept and had been in trouble, and these guys are really going to be loyal to me. And I wouldn't even want to go out with somebody like that, let alone twice he tried to match me up with these very horrible people. But back to the ants, my son and I were forced to hand dig this cardboard up, crawling with thousands of fire ants all over our arms, our hands, bubbling up, terrible stuff all over our legs. I got scars on my leg. His wife gave me some medicine, special medicine, like I think it was tea tree oil and something else, to try to get the infection out of my leg from all of the bites. He stood on the hill and watched sadistically. And then he waited 2 days later and told me to go get new cardboard and have my son and I redo the whole thing again. His wife was shocked and said, I didn't think you would say yes after he made you do that. And I said, and he could have let us use a Kubota or a tractor or something to load it up with a trailer, load all the cardboard up on there, and then take it to the burn pile. But no, he made us hand do it all day. And then 2 days later, you're going to go do this area again. You're going to redo it all. Take the stuff out of the garbage, go over there, and redo the whole thing again. And his wife said, I don't think you said yes, did you? And I said, yes, you have to say yes. You don't say no or you hit the road. And I don't have any money or any place to go.
Wow. Well, I think I'm really sorry to hear that you had such a horrible experience there. It sounded like more than once he sort of...
People did too.
Yeah, definitely. It sounded like he tried to attract you there on false pretenses more than once, and then when you got there, you found out it was not what he had actually advertised.
Well, I studied law in school before. I was a 4.0 average, and I studied law and different other things like counseling and business, and that is called bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody thinks something, and then you give them something else.
Right.
And it worked. It got us there. It got us to leave our home, our business. He felt like everybody was coming over there like he's some messiah in a Shangri-La.
Yeah.
I thought it would just be a good place to work, a nice, wonderful community. He makes sure that the friendliest people will greet you. People, a lot of lonely people are attracted there that have had abuse histories or whatever, problems with this or that. And they just all of a sudden would do anything for their church family. They call it their church family. And it's a very dysfunctional church family at best. There's still a few good people over there. I pray that they leave for their family's sake and for themselves.
Yeah, I hope so too, that the right people get away from that place, because I feel like he is victimizing people. Like, you're clearly the victim in this situation. It's the same thing I told Miss Cindy. And, I think the important thing to remember is, just because you got maybe fooled by somebody who's an expert at this, who's been doing this for decades, doesn't mean that, it doesn't reflect badly on you. Lots of very intelligent people can get fooled by somebody who's a malignant narcissist and who has been practicing and honing his skills at this for a very long time. So I know, like, after a situation like this, you could feel foolish, but, it doesn't mean, that you are. This is somebody who goes out of his way to victimize people, because I think he's a predator. So I think it's just important to remember.
Well, he is a predator, and you go there with, I went there with self-confidence. I was told right away to shut my mouth, not even to witness to people. I was demeaned just because of my sex, because I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm. It
was very quickly explained to me that, if he says, okay, there was a really old, disgusting guy there. He said he was demon-possessed, and he was dirty-looking, and he had this big, fancy camper, like a camper trailer. It was really expensive. And Dr. Hoban was like, well, you should go marry him. I'll perform a marriage. He performed illegal marriages and legal marriages up on this hill in this little chapel. He loved marrying people off and matching people up. And I said, I don't even know this guy, and I don't want to marry this guy. Well, anybody can get along if they try hard enough. And besides, he probably won't live very long. And I said, he's mean. And I said, and he says he's possessed. Well, nobody's perfect. Besides, who else would want to marry you? Who else would want to marry somebody like you?
Wow.
And I didn't marry him. I didn't. He said, well, the guy probably won't live very long, and then you could go and donate his big rig, his big RV thing, to DAL.
Oh, I
to
see.
give you the choice of any of the guest cabins. You'd now have heat and air conditioning.
I see.
You're freezing, you're roasting, you're feeling like a dog or that's been kicked around. You're digging through the garbage. You're demoralized. You're beaten. You're broken. And then you're told to go do this, and then you'll get this reward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the dog, you'll get a steak. Well, I said no. And he didn't like me saying no. He didn't like me saying no at a lot of the things. He didn't like my daughter speaking up against the once saved, always things in the Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like that no matter what he did to any of us, he couldn't break our spirit. He might succeed in breaking our bodies, but he couldn't break our spirit. And he couldn't make us be his little whatevers. And so we had to leave.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you made the right choice. You know, even if things look difficult right now, you know, at least you're away from that place, and at least you've gotten your family away from that place, you know. And, you know, I wish there was more I could do to help you, but, you know, I really wish the best for you. And, you know, if you need somebody to listen to you, you know, of course you can talk to me, and I hope that helps in some small way.
It really, really helps, because when you first called, I was just about ready to give up, and I told my daughter, I said, I'm about ready to send my son over to live with one of the relatives, and I had been having a lot of heart problems. I think I had a minor stroke when I was at DIL because it was just so hot,
right.
And I was working, and all of a sudden my explode, and I couldn't speak properly for a while. I couldn't move at all. My son finished my chores for the rest of the day. And one of my eyes looked different than the other. The picture of me that I sent you in just 2 years of what I looked like when I first came there and what I look like now, it doesn't look like the same person at all. It looks like a person that's aged. It looks horrible. And that's what he does to people. It's like a bad sci-fi movie where they suck people's souls out and break all their hope. And then he publicly, very publicly, took pictures with his phone and other things and made a lot of people jealous because he said he was giving me this car. He knew I was going to buy a car. I had saved up a little bit of money, sold some things and stuff, and saved up some money to get supposedly a reliable car that was in the local paper, a little minivan. He said, oh, no, I want you to have this one instead. And I had overheard somebody talking to him in the cafeteria, I don't want that car. It has problems. Oh, I'm going to give it to Johanna. Don't worry. So my daughter wanted to know why he was giving me this problem car that later I had spent all the money that I had saved for a good car, and it still was broken and very dangerous. It could have killed me. I could have went or got kicked out and went out there and, God's punishing her. Because people that he kicked out, if anything happened to them, that's what he would tell us. Or he would say that they're the prodigal son. Cindy has to give up all her property, that her dad's inheritance of selling a house he had given her Cindy. God doesn't want a woman to have property or anything. Cindy's against God. Nobody helped Cindy. Nobody talked to Cindy. And whatever he closed up, whoever he chose to attack, Jonathan and Bethany came to help him be sustainable just like we did. He doesn't want to be sustainable because he would lose his control center. So he would drum up reasons for kicking everybody out. And then he made comments that they were just like termites, getting rid of families, sending people homeless. That's just like getting rid of termites. I mean, what real caring, giving, compassionate person does that? Jesus wouldn't have done that.
Right. You know, when he kicked out Deborah Henderson, he used the same terminology of calling people termites, and he said that he was going to shoot all the termites he could find.
Are you still there?
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. It was kind of breaking up.
Yeah, no, I was saying when he kicked out Deborah Henderson, and I can send you a link to some of her videos, he said that, you know, he was going to shoot all the termites he could find. He used that same terminology of calling...
Did he kick out Debbie? I mean, Debbie, there was a lady named Debbie they brought from Texas that was going to donate all her IRA and everything to him. I think it's a different person, but I can show you a YouTube video and you'll see what she looks like, and then you'll know. I think it's a different person. Well, he is a predator. He's like a big spider sitting there in his little kingdom, and or Pharaoh with his slaves, you know, and he just like tries to suck everything dry and leave pus. But we're not giving up. If he hadn't really been aggressive trying to turn people against me and The people that I used to talk to over there believe his lies. You know, I'm right down the road from them, and I know I'm not welcome to be their friend really anymore. So
Right.
because he's warned them, you don't talk to so-and-so if he's kicked them out. You don't, or you'll get kicked out. They always have that. Everything's run by fear and control. And then just enough of the rewards to keep you in that warped thing of what's that syndrome that, like, kidnap people?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. A lot of people act like they have that are there after a while.
Mhm. Wow.
Because they'll protect him. They know he's been abusive. They know he's been all kinds of stuff, but
Yeah.
they'll still protect him, and they'll turn against people like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Well,
I really appreciate. It's nice just to having somebody not say I'm the most horriblest person in the world.
Oh, of course not. I don't think that at all.
I mean, if I hadn't donated all the stuff I had, thinking I was going to have a place to stay, if I hadn't lost so much money, and if I hadn't had the steady diet of the sugary Kool-Aid and stuff that he gives everybody over there, I wouldn't be missing so many teeth that I have because I couldn't afford to fix them. I just had to have them pulled. And I used to look pretty. I don't anymore. So I'm no longer seeking a husband. And I babysit, and the babysitters think I look funny. If I go walking down the road, just give people a big hillbilly smile, and they speed up.
Well, you definitely sound like you're in a better mood than the last time we talked. So, yeah, I do hope that having somebody to hear you sort of vent about this stuff helps a little bit. And I'm hoping that some of these people like Cindy and others, Theo, that have left DAL, that they can all help each other, or just publicizing this stuff can be helpful to these people, you know?
Well, I was accused of like having a big smear campaign against him, and I purposely came there to destroy him and all this other stuff. I'm like, well, then how come I gave him like everything I had?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, no. Who's the one missing all the teeth? Me.
Yeah.
You know, who's the one that looks like I do? Me. And if you hadn't called me and encouraged me, you know, sometimes that one little thing, a little bit of kindness goes a long way.
Yeah.
Making somebody get up, roll up their sleeves, and say, "Okay, it's not over yet."
Well, I'm glad to hear it. But thanks for talking to me again. I know the last call the audio got kind of messed up, so I appreciate you talking about this stuff with me because I know it's kind of difficult to go over all this stuff, but I think it's important.
Well, the first time was very hard because it came out in bits and pieces. It was very traumatic. It's normal for the brain when you're trying to heal to disassociate because you just are so shocked that this person you respected so much and that you brought your whole family into would ever do this stuff to you or to do it to anybody.
Yeah.
So it was very painful to talk about it, and after I could hear that you were patient and, you know, you have a nice sense of humor, you're a warm, caring person, I could tell that, okay, this is okay to talk about. It's okay to think I'm not the bad guy. I'm not what they keep saying that I am. So
yeah.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
How many have ever heard of Jim Bob Duggar, the Duggar family, 19 kids and counting? I've been texting Jim Bob back and forth the last couple of days, asking him to be on the program tonight. He is extremely embarrassed about what his son did. And so he's out of the ministry. I'd like you all to, I told him, Jim, get back in the ministry, forget it. Get going again. There's a war going on. We need you out there. Stop. Forget what happened. Just keep moving. If somebody doesn't like it, you're going to get criticized no matter what you do. I get criticized no matter what I do. I help people. They'll come here. I'll house them, feed them, and take care of their needs. And then when they leave, they say bad things about me. One lady we took in off the street, helped her for a long time. Worked here, did a great job. She's now writing articles about I didn't provide air conditioning for her cabin. Look, lady, I fed you 3 meals a day, all your utility bills. Come on. I do the best I can. We got 20-some cabin spaces here. I think we do pretty good. Will?
You're very adamant about getting air conditioners in these units.
Yeah, I try my best. I mean, we spend every penny around here. We're trying. Okay.